Some bonsai are admired because they look old. Others exist because they survived long enough to become seen. In nature, trees like these are not examples of success. They grow where soil is thin, where wind never stops, where growth is constantly interrupted. Their shapes are not designed. They are negotiated over time. What we recognize as character often begins as damage. What looks deliberate is often the result of limitation. And most trees formed this way never make it. The rare ones we see today are not perfect trees. They are the few that remained. This episode is not about rare species, and not about expensive trees. It is about conditions. Why certain bonsai look the way they do. Why some forms appear again and again across different species. And why survival, more than design, often determines what we later call beauty. We will look at trees shaped by wind, scarcity, and time. Then at what happens when those trees enter cultivation. And finally, why many of the bonsai we admire today only exist because someone chose to preserve them. Because rarity in bonsai rarely begins in the pot. It begins long before that. As you watch, notice what these trees have in common. Not their style, but their history. Because in bonsai, survival leaves marks that design cannot reproduce. And understanding those marks changes how we see the tree itself. In the next part, we begin where most of these forms actually start. Not in cultivation, but in the conditions that shaped them first. In many harsh landscapes, trees rarely grow the way we expect them to. They lean. They shorten. Branches disappear on one side while the other continues to grow. At first glance, these forms look unusual. But when seen across different mountains, coastlines, and climates, a pattern appears. The shapes repeat. Not because the trees are related, but because the conditions are similar. What we often call character is simply a record of pressure over time. Survival in these environments comes with limits. Strong wind reduces leaf area and breaks exposed growth. Thin soil restricts root expansion. Cold and drought slow the movement of water through the tree. Growth does not stop, but it becomes selective. Energy is redirected toward what can be maintained, not what can expand. Over time, this creates shorter internodes, compact foliage, and irregular movement in the trunk. The tree is not trying to look old. It is trying to remain alive with less. This is why certain bonsai forms feel believable. They resemble structures that already exist in nature. When conditions slow growth, time becomes visible. When growth is interrupted, movement appears. What collectors later admire as age is often the visible result of constraint. But in nature, most trees shaped this way do not survive long enough to become old. They break. They dry out. They disappear. The rare ones that remain carry the appearance of endurance. And that appearance becomes the reference for bonsai. Survival leaves structure behind. But once a tree is removed from those conditions, the struggle changes. The environment no longer decides the form. People do. And this is where bonsai begins to shift. From adaptation to interpretation. In the next part, we look at what happens when a tree shaped by survival enters cultivation, and why preserving its history becomes more difficult than creating its form. A tree shaped by survival carries visible history. Its movement reflects years of pressure. Its deadwood marks what could not be sustained. Its compact growth reveals how little was available. In nature, these traits are temporary. They exist only as long as the conditions remain. But sometimes, the tree is removed from that environment. And at that moment, survival stops being the only priority. The tree begins a different life. In cultivation, the pressures change. Water becomes consistent. Roots are contained. Wind, competition, and scarcity are reduced. The tree no longer needs to fight for survival in the same way. And because of that, growth begins to return. New shoots extend. Branches strengthen. Balance replaces struggle. This is necessary for the tree to live longer. But it also changes how the tree develops from that point forward. The environment that created the form is no longer present. This is where bonsai begins. Not when the tree is shaped, but when decisions replace conditions. The artist does not create age. That already exists. Instead, the role becomes preservation, deciding what to keep and what to allow to change. Too much control removes the marks of survival. Too little allows the tree to outgrow its history. The balance is quiet and ongoing. What we see as a finished bonsai is often a moment held between growth and memory. A survivor in nature endures by chance. A bonsai survives by care. And over time, survival itself becomes something that must be managed. This is why many of the oldest bonsai no longer belong to individuals, but to collections and institutions designed to protect them. In the next part, we look at how Japan became not only the origin of bonsai aesthetics, but an archive of trees that continue to exist because someone chose to preserve them beyond a single lifetime. When people see old bonsai in Japan, they often assume age is the reason they feel important. But age alone is not what makes these trees rare. Many trees in nature grow old. Few remain visible for long. What makes these bonsai different is continuity. They have not survived because conditions were favorable. They survived because conditions were controlled. The environment around them changed, slowly, carefully, and repeatedly, so the tree itself could remain. In long-term collections, bonsai are not treated as finished objects. They are managed as living systems. Time-off display allows recovery. Seasonal rotation reduces stress. Maintenance decisions are made with decades in mind, not seasons. The goal is not to keep the tree unchanged. That would be impossible. The goal is to allow change without losing identity. This is why many important bonsai outlive their original creators. Care replaces ownership. This changes how rarity should be understood. Many of the bonsai admired today did not survive because they were stronger than other trees. They survived because someone continued the responsibility of care. In nature, harsh conditions create form but eventually destroy the tree. In cultivation, preservation interrupts that ending. The bonsai becomes a record, not only of natural survival, but of human continuity. What we see is not a single lifetime, but many overlapping ones. Survival in nature is uncertain. Survival in bonsai is intentional. But intention carries consequence. The longer a tree is preserved, the further it moves from the conditions that first shaped it. And this raises a quiet question. What exactly are we preserving, the tree, or the story it represents? In the final part, we look at the consequence of survival itself, and why not every tree shaped by hardship is meant to last forever. A tree shaped by hardship carries the appearance of endurance. But survival always comes with cost. In nature, the same forces that create character eventually end the tree's life. Wind breaks what cannot bend. Scarcity limits what cannot recover. Bonsai interrupts that ending. Through care and protection, the tree continues beyond the conditions that first defined it. And over time, something changes. The tree no longer survives because of struggle, but because struggle has been removed. What remains is not survival itself, but the memory of it. This is why rare bonsai feel different. They are not rare because they look dramatic. They are rare because they carry continuity between two worlds. One shaped by nature, the other sustained by human care. Understanding this changes how we look at bonsai. The goal is no longer to imitate hardship, but to recognize what cannot be recreated. Some forms belong to nature. Bonsai only preserves their echo. If this changed how you see bonsai, the next question becomes unavoidable. What happens when we try to force age where it never existed? In the next episode, we look at bonsai that appear mature, but struggle to feel old, and why some species resist the illusion of age entirely. If you're interested in how nature, biology, and time shape bonsai beyond design, this channel explores those stories one tree at a time.